Welcome to the Revelations and Adventures channel. Today we're going to Peru, to the heart of the Sacred Valley. So what is the Sacred Valley of Peru? It's basically Machu Picchu. But besides Machu Picchu, there are other sites that might be even more mysterious than it. Sites like Sacsayhuaman, Coricancha and Cusco. Or even on the other side of the border, behind Lake Titicaca in Bolivia, Tiwanaku, and the very famous Pumapunku with its axe-shaped blocks. But today, it's to yet another site that I want to take you. Today, we're going to Ollantaytambo. Ollantaytambo is a site that's known for its enormous blocks, placed directly on top of extremely steep slopes. But it's also a site where there are some small details and certain little spots that are even more interesting. Maybe these huge blocks, still almost inexplicable today. So Ollantaytambo is obviously a site that will be on the itinerary for the Peru-Bolivia trip, which will take place in October. Of course, I'll bring back all the videos from the trip for you. And by the way, it's a golden opportunity to warmly greet the 15 travelers who will be joining me for these 2 weeks in Peru and Bolivia. And I'd also like to give a little shout out to the first 4 people who signed up for
the trip
in May 2019, since the October trip is already fully booked. So we'll go back there again in May next year. And if you want to be part of the trip, don't hesitate to send a quick email to the address shown here. So without further delay, let's now dive into Ollantaytambo. Not in those big ones.
Blocks.
Almost inexplicable, as I said before, but in a place that's a bit more secondary, less well known, but which still reveals in any case the possibility that at a very, very, very ancient time, much further back in any case, almost certainly. In the 16th century, a civilization in the area had technical capabilities, though not necessarily machines. Don't make me say what I didn't say, but a civilization with skills and techniques that we still don't know today, but which in any case was advanced enough to leave us this absolutely incredible legacy. So without further delay, let's go to Ollantaytambo in Peru's Sacred Valley.
Ollantaytambo is known for its massive blocks.
Lost enough.
At the top of the mountain, some are assembled, others are scattered across the slopes. This last one. However, today, our focus will be on a place that's a bit less known, but just as revealing of the knowledge of the ancients. When it comes to shaping rock, what techniques could have been used? Once again, we find here the succession of several eras as shown in these images, where it's not hard to see that additions have been made, additions that are glaringly crude. You could say it's always the same. But we must not forget that these occurrences are so numerous that it's in everyone's best interest to share them as often as possible. Crude additions, as I was saying. Still, all credit goes to the Incas. We have already seen in a previous video the different civilizations that succeeded each other at Machu Picchu. If you haven't seen that video yet, I'll put the link in the description for you, and in the little eye that now appears on the screen and is clickable. All Sacred Valley sites are officially from the same period and built by the same builders. That means the broadest period in which these constructions were built extends from 1230 to 1533. In our history, these are very recent achievements, yet they share surprising similarities with much older sites. Back in Ollantaytambo, the evidence is striking. Besides this carved wall, just a few steps away, we have what is officially called a hotel. Still in line with the religious approach, which is systematically embraced when we don't have a rational explanation, it is said that the magnetism present at this place is very high. It goes without saying that when we are there in October, we will definitely measure all of that, and to share with you on the channel everyone's impressions. Given the level of deterioration of the block, we can wonder what its original size was and how complex the shapes carved into it originally were. Is it a case of reuse where people came to take stone from the block? That's not impossible. In fact, we find a similar situation with Egyptian granite blocks that were reused thousands of years later, and which show rather irregular signs of breakage and cutting. That said, if we look closely, we likely don't have the same kind of work here as the Egyptians did. Look more closely. Right in the middle, we have a hole in which most likely some explosive powder was placed. This means the reuse I mentioned wasn't to use it, but to destroy a sacred object that might have disturbed the site's heirs, either because of its energy or because of its unknown meaning. However, according to the official theory, the Incas never mastered drilling techniques, which would then suggest that the hole in this limestone rock called the Blue Stone was either original or very recent. But as for the contemporary aspect of this hole, no one on site is able to confirm this hypothesis. This doesn't change the video's purpose, but it's helpful to examine these magical places closely. I was talking about magnetism a few moments ago. More generally, when you listen to those who have seen this site, those who have experienced it in person, an incredible energy seems to prevail. This energy is the key link among nearly all sacred and mysterious ancient sites. Let's remember that powerful energy vortexes can be found at places like Cusco's Plaza de Armas or Machu Picchu. So, regarding Ollantaytambo, is it the place or the stone that is charged with energy? Even if the answer remains difficult to give, it doesn't affect the questions surrounding this so-called religious altar, called Naupa Iglesia by the Incas. Understand, the old church. This old church therefore has workmanship qualities that surpass in scale and quality what is attributed to the Incas. Alignments with the stars are also mentioned. Indeed, the director of the Cusco Planetarium says that the 3 niches of this block point towards certain stars, depending on the time of year. Personally, it's a statement that's a bit too vague to have any real meaning. On the other hand, we will certainly take note of the presence of the 3 niches. 3 windows, the most well-known example in the region being, of course, the Temple of the 3 Windows at Machu Picchu. This mysterious site inspires many theories and fuels dreams for those seeking enlightenment. Reportedly, the stone carved into the mountain as this unique false door is said to have specific dimensions, with a ratio of 5/6, which would correspond to concepts related to the Earth's precession cycle, and which would also match the ratio of 5/6. The slopes of the bent pyramid of Dashur. As for the bent pyramid of Dashur, these slopes measure 54.4 and 43.9 degrees, which is a ratio just over 4/5. So you understand that this has nothing to do with the 5/6 initially mentioned. I have also heard that the slopes of the cut walls, whose precision is completely undeniable, are rather judged as well. So I was saying that I also heard that the slope of these walls is 52 and 60 degrees, like the 2 Great Pyramids of Gizo. For Khufu, with a slope of 51.5 degrees, I can accept that, although still. But for Khafra, the slope is just over 53 degrees. So once again, we're kind of dealing with nonsense here, with numbers that don't match reality. It's true that it might seem tempting to finally find some answers, but it's always more honest and careful to admit it. Our ignorance in the face of structures whose sole spiritual purpose cannot satisfy our minds, which are nevertheless rational. That's a bit like what we have here actually in Ollantaytambo, with this altar at least, this sculpture, this block of blue stone, this limestone that's just a few meters away, false doors, and other cutting marks. The precision and mastery can only lead us to imagine the possibility of an ancient civilization about which we still know almost nothing today.